Okay, so the point of Mathchops is to find high value questions for your students. So basically, whatever the test is they're preparing for, there are certain questions that show up a lot. And within that group of questions, there's some that are really good for your particular student. Ones that are like not too easy, that they get them right all the time, not too hard, that they have no chance. So they're basically the ones that are very likely to show up, that the student hasn't learned yet, but that they could learn very quickly. And that's what Mathchops is kind of searching for. So the idea is that it finds those questions for you. You don't have to like find a bunch of worksheets or books or like create a bunch of quizzes and things like that. Just by playing the games on the site, it's going to be exposing them to these questions. And the numbers change every time. So they can, if they need to see a question 10 times, they'll see it 10 times. And then you can kind of just react to what they're missing. So I'm going to give you a quick tour of how to use it. And then if there are any questions after, we can go over it. So the first thing I would recommend for all of the tutors is that you play the games yourself. That's very important because otherwise you'll have no frame of reference for what the student is doing. So we're in a dummy like tutor account. Your homepage would actually look like this and have a roster, but you can see there's a games page. And this is your own private version of the games that you can feel free to purposely miss questions, like do whatever you want just to kind of familiarize yourself with it. So the first thing I would do is play the level challenge. This is the most important game on the site. It's effectively a running score predictor. So initially, this is an SAT student. So initially it's going to be a very low level, like 330. So if you play this game, you have to get 6 questions right before you get 3 wrong. And if you do that, then your score is going to go up, and then all the other games on the site are going to get a little bit harder. So what happens is you beat that game. Let's say you go up to a 430, you beat it again, you go up to a 500. At a certain point, you're going to get stuck. Okay, or a student will get stuck, let's say. And this is a different account. This is a student's account. You can see these tabs are a little bit different. And this student is stuck at 540. That means that that's right around what they're going to be scoring on their test. If they take a practice test or a real test, they'll score right around 440 as well. And a lot of times the students will want to just keep playing the level challenge, but it's a little harder now. You can see there's a timer. There are more questions that have to be answered. The questions start to get a little harder. Answer this one, which is fun. You can see, by the way, that all the questions have explanations. So a lot of times students can figure them out on their own, but there'll be some they won't be able to that you can help them with. So anyway, this is a student who's stuck at 540. And what you want to do then is direct them to the category challenges. These are short quizzes. They only have 6 questions each, and they target specific levels of difficulty and specific areas. So like the students are highly motivated by score. We've tried all kinds of different games. They really just care about getting a high score. So a typical assignment would be like, why don't you you're stuck at level 540. Why don't you earn 3 level 540 badges? So this is what one of them looks like. You can see there's only 6 questions. Another type of assignment you could have is if they really need help with linear equations, or let's say you're teaching a class and the topic for that day was linear equations, you could say, why don't you earn all of the linear equation badges up to your level? Or why don't you earn 2 linear equation badges? It depends on how much homework you want to assign. Typically, if they are earning 3 category challenge badges for my students, it'll maybe take about an hour, but it depends on the student. And part of the appeal to the student is that if they beat the games really quickly, they won't have as much homework. In actuality, they're probably going to do a lot more work for you without realizing it. And that's part of the point of the program. So you always will assign one of 2 things. It's either going to be get the level up. And that's if you think that, let's say on practice tests, they're getting a 650 or something. The 540 is way too low. You want them to beat the level challenge until they can't anymore. So that would be one assignment. The other assignment is to earn these category challenge badges. And like I said, I'll usually assign 3 or maybe 4, but that kind of depends on how much work the student is able to do. Okay, so you've assigned your quiz for the week. Again, not one that you're creating. You're just telling them, play the level challenge, earn category challenge badges. That's your assignment. When you meet with the student, you go to their analyze page. So they log into their account, they go to the analyze page, And this has what they've done recently. It has all the stats. It has a timestamp. You can see this is the one that I just answered a minute ago. And you kind of just take a quick tour through their week. Anything red is something they missed. And sometimes they'll say, well, this is just a small mistake. I knew exactly how to do it. But other times it's a real problem. And if you want to spend a little extra time on a topic, you can create a quiz with them on the spot. And here's where you can change the number of questions. You can turn off the timer. You could focus just on missed questions. You could focus just on systems. You could mix and match any way you want. I usually use this during sessions, not so much as an assignment, although I'll show you in a minute, there is a way to assign these if you want to. So you're on their analyze page, you're going through the ones they missed. Usually this will take 5 or 10 minutes. You can spend longer on a topic if you want. But once you've covered everything, then you set the goals for the next week. And this brings up the second main point. So the first one was that you have to play the games yourself. The second really important thing for tutors is that you have to assign this work with conviction. So if it's sort of like an afterthought, like take your practice test and do these worksheets and then remember to do your math chops, they're not going to do it. They can tell that you don't care. But if you say the homework for next week is to get to level 590 on your level challenge, and they know that when you meet, you're going to go to that analyze page and you're going to see either zeros because they did nothing or lots of high numbers and interesting questions to go over. They can see that you're going to take it seriously. They're going to do the work. And by the way, they might do a whole lot more work for you. Like I've had students do several hundred questions in a week. I've had them do like 2,000 questions over the course of several months. So you can get a lot of work out of students and really big score increases too, if you do that. So that's the basic flow. And it's the same for all students. You can use, it could be a fourth grader who's doing the lower level IC. It could be, let's say someone needs help with algebra and you're using the SAT more as a way to help them with those core skills. Let's say it's an ACT student who's really high performing. It's still the same flow every week. You assign level challenge or category challenges. When you meet, you look at the analyze page, you go over the ones that they missed. And then when you're done going over that, you set the assignment for the next week, and then you move on to other things.